whole thing for my post was, look, I've tried melee lists that just, I don't know, maybe it's got to be me because
Yeah.
I can't make it work. So for me personally, right? So I bring a nice painted army. I want to have a good time at the table. I want to have a good chance of winning. I don't have to win, but I
Yeah.
really want to have a good chance of winning. So if I win, I don't want the guy to walk away or gal to walk away going, "Oh my god, that was the worst game ever." And the feedback I've gotten with my bomber list has been, "I don't really like that game." Like, well, is that me or is that them? Or I don't know. I don't know.
It's
That's why I'm
both.
like, I'm getting, yeah,
Well, that's kind of why I got you guys, right? Was I've had incredible success with melee goblins for years. Second edition, third edition.
yeah. But when I walk by your table, I'm like, I don't even know what you're running because it's all done. Is that minsters? What are those things?
They they play pretty quick, right? Mincers are the Triceratops with the big shield. All the Mobbies are fast
Yeah.
carnivores. There's only 4 dinosaurs on the table, and they're all uniform in what they do. I also own non-dinosaur models. I just prefer the dinosaurs.
You know,
Well, I just went heavy mantic,
Yeah.
all mantic goblins.
Hey,
So I was
you're
like, you know what? I bought them all. I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
you're muted,
So I
by
was
the
like,
way, John. You gotta unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I was like, John's gonna eventually get frustrated we're not listening to him.
yeah, you
we're
know,
ignoring John.
I'm like a newer player. I played Warhammer before, and so I've been playing Kings of War for a couple months, and I play with a group that have been playing for like years. And so, the first 20 games I was getting smashed and like learning, and then I've had some success, but like you're saying, Bart, like I'm struggling to find a list that like I feel isn't just like getting totally destroyed with like one bad roll, one bad move. And I'm just kind of looking for some ideas about different kind of battle groups or different units and like how people are using them. Just something to
Yeah.
kind of maybe
And that was
Yeah.
sort of my thought. Throw us in a group, right? Like, it's not like you're a bad player, Bart. You know.
Yeah, I've had my
just,
moments, you know.
yeah, it's
I can't make the goblins work, and goblins have been my thing since, like I said, back in '89. I was a orc goblin player forever. I like to laugh at the table. I'm like, oh my god, all the funny little crap that happens when you play goblins, love it. But I don't want it to be, oh my god, I just blew all of your shit off the table on turn one because I had a good round. I want to have it. I want to be a good game, but I also don't want to be. I don't want to be that guy that's going to bring in three rock lobbers, 3 wingets, and like go just shoot the crap out of you before you even get across the table. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be like, okay, I want to get into it with you. I want to fight with you. I want to have a good time. I want to have a good chance of winning. And at the end of it, okay, I want to be competitive, but I don't want to be a dick.
yeah. Well,
It's
what
on
I
the same
figured
way.
I'd do is show you guys some of the battle groups that I'm using in my melee list and go over them and their role, right? And I mean, I've played literally like that King of the Monsters event where I took a list that couldn't shoot. Like I took bigots
Yeah.
instead of kings. I took no wizards. I didn't take any goblin blasters because they had a ranged attack, right? I went undefeated at that event, and I only lost by 3 points to the all ice elemental horde list, right? And I got a draw. I got a draw against it. I didn't lose to it. I took second place to it. Ironically, I took third in sports. What a surprise! But yeah,
and
I
by
got
the
a
way,
draw against
you've been-
that.
Yeah, you've been playing like goblins for a long, long time. So I don't want it to be a net list push button, just push it forward. I'm going to win. That's not what I'm looking for. You really have to learn how
Oh yeah,
everything works
no.
together. I'm totally willing to
if
do that.
if you slap one of my lists down, when I went 17 consecutive tournament wins in second edition, I'll never forget. I got in a fight with someone from England, and he was like, "It's your list, it's not you." And I was like, "Dude, here's my list. It's public. Go play it." And he got kicked into the dirt like
Yeah,
4
yeah,
separate times.
absolutely. King's of War is not a net list kind of a game. You really need to know how it all works.
And that's
I think if you have
why,
any list,
like,
you
right,
can figure out how
my
it works.
article on battle groups, my podcast on battle groups, the whole point of how I think about the game is what the fuck does this do, right?
yeah.
So one of the things that I want to show you guys, I'm just going to slap 3 hordes in here because there's a core group that I use. It is shooting, but I don't take. I own lobbers, I own bolt throwers, I own mobbies launchers, right? I have them. I think they're incredibly valid and strong. I don't take them. I don't actually enjoy that because for me, right, that takes away the outplay of the game, Like, for me, the strategy of artillery is target prioritization and wound
Yep.
saturation, and like, okay, do I want to go for sixes into
just
eights?
keep shooting it till it's dead, right?
Yeah, do I play for sixes into eights and try and waver a line, or do I play for twos into fours, right? So it's there is a strategy to it, there's a math to it, but for me, that's not exciting. But that could also be that I've been playing exclusively goblins from a tournament standpoint, hardcore. So ignore the 3 hordes, they're just going to be, or ignore the hordes, they're just unlocks. So one of the main cores I use for shooting is one of Goblin's weaknesses is mid-range control, right? We've got a lot of awkwardly fast chaff, we have a lot of tar pits, we have a lot of pseudo hammers or slow hammers, but where
Even the tar pits, though, I've been like one shot
soft.
on 1921s on the charts. It's like, fuck. It's like, I thought that would hold a turn.
No,
like, damn it.
No, it's Rabble are in a softer spot than they used to be because hammers are a little bit stronger than they used to be.
Yeah, I'm finding my rabble hordes getting pwned early.
So,
I love trombones, by the way.
Yeah,
I do love my trombones.
The core that I've been running almost exclusively when I'm not trying to be petty and winning with a list that physically doesn't take shooting, right? This core right here, the 3 trombone and the bang it with the inspiring talisman.
So hanging out with the trombones?
He sits inside the trombones, so that gives you 30 dice, piercing 1 on 4s. You get the bang it's 3 attacks on 4's blast, but more importantly, he has shattering.
Yes.
And what it also does is it gives you a hero that doesn't need to go on adventures ever. He's not trying to chaff a unit.
He's hanging back.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's not trying to chaff a unit. He's not trying to screen an objective. He's not trying to be a king getting a cheeky bow shot off on the side to pop gargoyles, right? He's just always in your core. And a lot of times your rabble or your trolls or your mincers or whatever are near the war trombones. So what I've found is that this Bang It has replaced my BSB. He acts as a BSB, and instead of like giving him the holy hand grenade like we used to, or the diadem of dragon kind.
Oh my god, the hand grenade! Yeah,
he's my second edition banner bearer. He's the exact same role with shattering.
Good. Now my banner was my loot guy, so you don't do that.
Actually, I haven't taken Bane Chant at all in 3rd edition.
Because someone had posted, I don't know if it's one of the guys in the thing here, it was like, okay, if you can't move the 4s, move the CS. I was like, I sort of agree with that. It's like, okay.
What I've been taking a lot is weakness. But that's because in melee heavy armies, right, I need to win the grind. Well, you don't win the grind by doing damage in the front. Rabble hit on 5s or 6s, right? Like,
you're not going to win.
I don't care if I'm charging you hindered. I don't care if I'm charging you hindered and weakened. I don't care what special rules you put on me. I'll charge you ensnared, hindered, in the front with weakness. Because I'm there to do 0 wounds. I'm there to buy time.
Now, where do you run these Bang It trombones? In the middle? Like in the middle of your whole...
So, a general strat is to run them... I thought I had Google PowerPoint up, but you guys know how battlefields look. It's still mission dependent, right? So let's say we're playing Invade. I'm going to run it with the majority of my unit strength because I need to blast a hole. If we're playing Dominate, right, they better be in a position where they can clear shots in the middle by turn 3. A lot of the times what I'm doing is I'm looking for that hill. I've been doing this since 2nd edition. You get a triple war trombone and a fire support character. It used to be my BSB with the diadem. Now it's the Bang It. And you run this little block because it's good for about 10 wounds a turn versus anything in the game.
Yeah, I mean,
6 versus
I used to run 6 trombones in the old. Yeah, I have a spider goblin list where it's just all like a bunch of little forest goblins running around, but I had the 3 war trombones. It was really devastating.
So a lot of my deployment with them is based on, because one of the things that they suck at, right, is being sniped off, lightning bolt 3 from a Pegasus, etc.
Yes.
One of the ways to mitigate those things is if you can deploy them between a hill and the enemy, only tall targets can shoot them, and they're always doing so at cover. But it lets you put them on the 12-inch line, so you can try and gain that 3rd turn of shooting. Instead of shooting from turn 4 to 6, you can shoot from turns 3 to 6, or you can force a bigger bubble of control, right? Since they can't double time. The other thing I like to do is I'll deploy those I'll put them right in cover. I'll put them behind forests. I don't care because they can't double time. But that quadruple, that triplet and hero is the battle group that I use. I tend to try and deploy them last. Like, I'll deploy my whole army. Yeah. And when I've got like 5 or 6 drops left, 4 of them will be this. And part of it is because once I see your stuff, right? Like, if I see that you've got a Naiad horde, I don't care what the mission is. This is probably going to go where it can screen the Naiad horde away, right? If you're running pikemen, there's nothing in a goblin list that's going to kill pikemen, but 3 war trombones and a bang it can kill pikemen sometimes in 1 turn.
Yeah.
So I almost use it as a counter. Now, if you're running all defense 6, I might run this first because it's not going to do shit against defense 6, and I might as well get chaff drops out of the way. And that's the other thing, as you get later in the game, you can actually chaff with war trombones. And people are afraid to do it.
This is almost similar to... This is similar, because I used to run 3 bangets. It's almost this, like three bangets. I don't know the math on this, but it's 3 bangets
War
same as 3 war
trombones come
trombones?
1 wound. They come out ahead in wounds.
1, yeah, do they? Okay.
Mm-hmm. But bangets are 5 points cheaper. Here's the difference. Hero slots are contested in a goblin army. War machines, in my playstyle of melee, you're looking at it. You're looking at the extent of the war machines I ever take. So it's an uncontested slot for me. Whereas bangets are highly contested, right? Bangets can be kings on chariot. They can be kings on foot. They can be some of our legendary heroes, which are dope as fuck.
Yeah, the Magua and Use is really awesome, I think. But
that right there, that's the sexy.
Yeah, that is. I haven't used Grupp.
Oh no, he's amazing. Yeah. I've got the gauntlet. I got the Infinity Gauntlet Wizard. Like that guy is in my list. He was wrecking characters. Some character came over on a horse. I'm just going like, oh my god.
I have survived a Night Horde.
Freeze blasted.
He does a wound, right? The Night Horde loses Thunderous 2, and then they're weakened. And all of a sudden, now against the Night Horde,
he's in snare.
He's in snare, so they're 32 dice on 5s into 5s, and he can tank a Night Horde for a turn.
Yeah, he is amazing. I love this guy. I totally 100% love this guy.
Yeah, but it's the idea that he's really strong. Kuzlo, I've struggled to figure out how to make it work. I haven't actually mastered him yet, but I'm convinced in my head Kuzlo is good.
Magua is amazing. This guy.
I'm starting to really fall in love with Magua. I didn't like him in 2nd edition. As we move into 3rd now, having Duelist and Mighty and a Goblin list is destructive, and then Wild Charge D3 lets it keep up with your mob beasts.
Yeah, see, he's nimble too. It's like vicious, nimble.
Yep.
He's not. Yeah, he's height 3.
Say that last part again with the mob with what do you do with
He can keep up with them. He's the only Goblin hero that can keep pace with mob beasts because he's also Wild Charge D3.
Gotcha.
So you can actually act him with them.
Do you use mob beasts? Because the thing that scares me about mob beasts is they're 810 or 911 or whatever they are, like 810 or
911.
They're 911,
right?
911. I run more mob beasts.
If you look at them funny, they freaking get wavered and they're just blocking everything up.
I run more mob beasts than any other player that I know of in Kings of War. So you got the mob beast troop, right? 6 attacks on 3s, crush 1, vicious. What makes them terrifying is they're skinny as hell, and they're nimble. The amount of flanks off a hill that I can find, I mean, 12 attacks on 3s, crushing 1 vicious, coming off a hill, thunderous 1 vicious. Even if you're not off a hill, right? I'll still take it. Even if you're hindered, I'll take melee 4 with vicious. It's an 80 point, pretty much guaranteed to disable. They're good for about 4 hits and like 2.5 wounds a turn. They're not killing anybody, but they're fast and they're flexible. And if your opponent doesn't have an answer to speed, instead of making these your frontline chaff, I treat these like Fleabag troops. You get one of these in the rear of a unit, I mean, you will absolutely slaughter. You do a rear charge with one of these into a Great Axe Horde, and you can take a third to half their health.
Yeah.
So that it forces your opponent to have answers, right? And they're cheap, they're disposable. And again, one of the things you notice if you guys look at my list is my unlocks are often 100% used. I almost never take a list that has nothing.
What's your core?
Let me build one of my lists real fast. So the one that I'm training with right now is 3 Rebel Hordes. What I used to take is a Horde and 2 regiments, and that was it. I would use chariots for the unlocks, but the longer I'm in 3rd, the less I like chariots. They just
the
melee
only
20
time I use chariots
is great, but
with my Ragnarok, I use that as my chariot legion. That's the only time I use it on my other list.
I
throw
like
a sharp stick horde in here because I run up against cavalry a lot.
Yeah. Well, but even then, cavalry can still one-shot you without Thunderous. I've still been one-shot by it. It just takes two good chunks to one-shot you. Even at -1 to hit without Thunderous, they can still one-shot you. So I have actually quit taking sharp sticks entirely.
I just like the look. I like the new ones. I bought them.
Oh, you
I
can
made a
like
whole horde of them.
you can love the look,
I'm
and
going for the visual thing.
you can take them. You can also take them and call them rabble. And sharpsticks have a value, right? Like sharpsticks are still going to be stronger durability wise. They have 30 attacks. They have an extra unit strength. But you're paying 35 points. So if you take 3 sharpstick hordes, it's 100 points that you've spent on
Yep.
marginal durability.
Yep. No, I'm taking one
you're
and 2
expecting to
rabble.
die.
So
Yeah, I'm expecting them all to die.
Yeah. So the blaster by points is arguably the most efficient melee unit in the game.
Oh, really?
By point. On average dice, it's more melee efficient than Soul Reavers. By point, not of course like raw damage, but by point. The trade-off is that goes away when you remember it can only happen once. One of the things to remember with blasters that a lot of people forget, it doesn't die till the end of the combat phase. So you can also charge heroes and overrun.
Yeah.
So I use them a lot of times to try and pick flanks, and I have no problem taking a Goblin Blaster and shooting for 6 turns and then leaving a unit strength on the table for 65 points.
All right. So now let's get into the crux of the issue, though, right? So these are the same things as Bangits, right? They have 3 attacks.
3 attacks on 5.
Yeah, 3 attacks.
Like for shooting,
what's the general? Yeah, but it's still like a Bangit, though. Oh, it's on 5s, right? It's not saying okay. It's not as bad.
No, they almost never hit in melee. They don't have shattering. What makes blasters strong is that melee hit, right?
Yeah.
But they're also so swingy. Like I've pulled a flank with a Goblin Blaster and done 3 wounds, right? And then I've done a front charge and I've done like 9 wounds. You know, you can get all 3 hits and do 18 dice.
I saw a friend one-shot a Steel Behemoth with a blaster in the flank.
Yep, and then there's other games where you'll get a flank charge, you only get 1 hit out of 6 dice, so it'll blow up and you'll do 1 wound, and you're like, well, that was fun. Yeah. Blasters are in that comedic range, and here's the other part, right? It's a melee range model that's -10.
Yeah.
It's not taking you off the table before you even get to play. One of the biggest things against War Machine spam is, I didn't even get to use this model, it's in the box now. Right? It happens a lot. The Pegasus Horde is gone, the Giant's gone. These guys are fun because your opponent can kill them, you can kill them.
So with the blasters and like so I've been running a lot of 3 blasters and 3 mincer mobs. What I've been doing is I've been running the mincer mobs in front and then the blasters behind. But a couple guys in my group were talking about maybe putting the blasters in front actually and kind of running it like a pincer, like a regiment of rabble and the blaster in front, and then kind of moving the mincer mob up. I haven't tried that yet, but they were talking about that.
Yeah, it really depends on what your opponent is, right? Because if your opponent has a unit that can one-shot mincers, that's valid, but it's also one of the reasons that I play with so many mob beasts. Because basically how I look at it as mob beasts are cute, they can flank, they can score, they're annoying. But they also screen. They're just fast enough to screen. They're nimble, so even a wavered mobbies pack, if you leave a 2-inch clearance, you can pivot and then backstep 3 inches, and you can make clearance for any of your units. Yep.
Yeah.
So
because they're nimble. Okay.
Even a cheeky lightning bolt 1 into a waver, you can rotate your mobbies troop out of the way. With that many mobbies and this many rabble hordes too, right? You're just going to take the king with the aura because he's dope-alicious. I don't think you should upgrade him. I don't think he needs the 9-inch aura because how it works for Headstrong is when you activate a unit, you roll. It's not the beginning of the turn. So he has a 10-inch move on top of his 12-inch aura, so he effectively has a 16-inch reach out and touch me range. So if you keep him semi-centralized...
15 points, so I like it.
Yeah. I don't think it's worth taking the extra aura item on him unless you're running trolls. And if you're running trolls, goblins are probably not the right army.
Oh man, you just cut me hard there.
There's so many armies that run trolls better than goblins, dude.
I know they do. I know.
Because you either have to accept that they're naked and they're mediocre, and you just run them naked with 1 king, or you go full out kit, right? You're taking a sharpness horde, you're taking a crushing horde.
Yep.
And it's emotionally rough.
It's too expensive. I'm not items. I'm very, very light on items. If I take 1 or 2, that's a lot.
On average, this might be the only item in the list.
Yeah, so I'm the same. I take very few items.
Especially
First
because
of
our
all,
armies are
I
so
can't
cheap.
remember them when I'm rolling. I'm like, shit, I forgot already.
Yeah, and a
Yeah.
lot of it has to do with how cheap our armies are, right?
Scroll
Now
up. How much? What do you have? You're at 50, you only have 1,500 points. For
I'm at
fuck's sake.
1,500 points. We're at 18 unit strength with 17 drops. One of the things you'll notice, though, my armies are depressingly low in unit strength, which is a challenge to play because it means you can't just throw models away. Like in second edition, I
Yeah.
could bring 6 rabble hordes and just throw them away. But in this, a lot of your points, right? That's 160 points for 1 unit strength. It's 160 points for 1 unit strength. And then here always comes the core question, right? Do you run allies or do you run core goblins? I am actually of the opinion right now that goblins are better for allies than almost any other army because they can fill in the role. They can bring an army's worth of drops that do their own shit, and you can bring in allies. The two armies I tend to ally the most are orcs and undead, followed very closely by abyssal dwarves.
Yeah, the only way I would do it is goblins and orcs. That's just I'm
Yeah.
just
So
I can't do it any other way.
I was winning with two great axe hordes and a banner bearer. The problem is I moved down south, like to Alabama and stuff, where Jeff O'Neill is king and Keith Randall and those guys. Their solution has been fill the tables with terrain. That has only helped them win more, but the guys keep putting more and more terrain out there. What it's doing is you can't double time hordes anymore. So they just get to constantly sit back and shoot you while you go 5 inches a turn, right? You just can't clear through it. So for orcs, I've transitioned to double Morax, Crudger, and a War Drum to have 2 sets of Fearless 17, melee 3-up, Crushing 1 Wild Charge, and then the Crudger takes the banner, so you have a 12 to 14 inch threat with 2 Skull Poles, and you're at like 535 points, fully kitted out. You add 7 unit strength and another hero who's also mighty, which is great. And it does something goblins can't do, right? It gives you a hammer flank that you can screen with mob beasts. You don't care if they're inspired or not, just let them die. Their job is to deliver the Morax on one flank. And you can save that flank for last and pick whether you go left or right. That said,
you take Morax regiments or hordes?
Yeah, you can't take Morax hordes.
Yeah,
you take regiments. But yeah, up north, I was taking Great Axe hordes because they're great, right? Great Axe hordes can tank for themselves. Crushing 2 on 3s doesn't give a shit about you. But down here in the meta that I've moved to, the tables are too packed. I can't run an orc horde. But you don't need allies.
Too big anyway.
I like allies. You don't need them.
I'm not an ally guy.
So,
but if I did, I would do orcs.
I've been doing undead. I've been running a horde of ghouls and undead dragon, and it's beautiful because with goblins having so many drops, I'm able to drop everything, and then at the very end, I can put my dragon down wherever is advantageous for me.
Yeah, no, and I don't disagree with you in any way, shape, or form on that. I actually am a fan of kings on foot, right? They're 70 points. They have 5 good bow shots. They have 5 technically not shitty melee attacks for their price. And it's just a nice filler.
If you're me, they're shitty.
Yeah, well, and in this list, there's really nothing fast enough to keep up with a king on chariot.
Yeah.
Now, you can take a king on chariot. I like them.
You have
right,
18 drops, 18 years. That's hysterical.
Yep, and I'm at only 40 points.
Yeah.
So if we look at the unlocks now, there's already 3 blasters, there's 3 heroes, there's 3 war machines, and then we've used a chunk of our unlocks. We've used exactly half. Now for the true hammers, again, if you go to Math Hammer, this unit right here is bullshit. Because with the price reduction, Brew of Sharpness on a regiment makes them turn for turn. Oh shit, what did the chart say? Compared to Naked Soul Reavers, they're 1% more efficient in dealing damage.
I always run this. The regiment with sharpness is what I add all the time.
The second strongest regiment is, for my meta, right, it's Potion of the Caterpillar. Because there's so much fucking terrain down here. You could also run Crushing Strength. One of the things that a lot of guys like to run, by a lot of guys I mean exclusively me, is that.
I run my king with that, by the way.
I don't mind it on the king because he's in the way. But one of the fun things about this is you have to commit something that can crack defense 6.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you have to multi-commit. It's the same idea as running a legion of sharp sticks with a crystal pendant. which is a lot of fun. But I actually don't take the crystal pendant very much.
That's a lot of points.
I'd rather take
The
caterpillar. Where's it at? I can't use words good.
You're too high.
Like, it's 20. I know how many points it is. I know. I can read. There it is. I made it mad at me. Oh, I broke my computer. Awesome. There we go. So now we're at 2,095 points. That leaves us 205 for a standard American tournament. For 205 points, you can do literally whatever the fuck you want. You can play with magic items. And actually, what I did last time was instead of that, I took Jesse's moccasins, and that left me 210 points, which is conveniently that. So now you have two.
Now, what do you do with them?
So they're they're annoying, right? They're also melee 4, and they're speed 10 nimble, which means hills plus 20 inches is a thunderous charge off a hill with the exact same melee efficiency as Fleabag Riders.
Of the Riders, yeah.
They die fast, but if you look at the list, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fast chaff, 2 mincer squares, and I like to keep the squares in with the rabble, because that square, right, you can literally move them straight forward, make a clean 90 no matter what in charge. And then I tend to run the regiments as a second wave or their own flanking forces.
Behind everything.
But the troops I put right in the thick of it.
So you put like the troops in front and then the regiments behind?
Yeah. But let's say you're going against a bunch of archers, right? Okay, well, mob beasts are fast as hell, but they're defense 3, right? They die when you stare at them. They die when you cough. They die before you take them out of the box. If you're running against what I would call like chaff shooting, so elven archers, lightning bolt 3, little tiny annoying bullshit poke, you run the mincers as your chaff, and then around turn 2 or turn 3 when you're getting ready to close, you double time the mob beasts into the front. So the trade-off is the mob beasts don't get to maybe they don't get to do the first hit. They don't get to alpha and apply their 2 wounds or 3 wounds. But they're trying to kill your defense 6 stuff with a bow, and then you get to control the melee. Oh, okay. Thanks, Zoom. I appreciate it.
You making just like a line with your horde mincer mob troop combination?
Let me hop on. Go away, Zoom. Go away. All right. Just use Facebook. Google.com. You don't need to be able to type when Google corrects for you. Google Drive. Core Goblins. This is the Wing It version of my list. I'm
Show me
still
the
not,
Wing It version?
Yeah. I still don't know if I like the
Only
Wing It
because
version.
I've painted a couple the last couple of days, so.
I'm still working on it. I don't know if I like it. But it basically substitutes the blasters for the wingets.
This is probably what I would do, only because I'm not a big fan of blasters. I don't like having a unit strength that's going to die. You know it's going to explode.
Yeah. So what you do is you take out this. So it's 170 more points to turn blasters into wingets. On the nose, 170 points. So you can keep all this, drop both of these, take your wingets, and you're left with 40 points to spend. And you can spend that 40 points to upgrade, say, a rabble into a spear horde, or upgrade a king into a king on chariot.
Would do. Yeah, show me that one more time. I just want to see, because I don't think you had the 2 mincer mobs.
No, because this one is where I'm testing out my orcs, because this is my best painted.
Okay.
This is my best painted unit. My orcs are right now.
Yeah. See, this is how I decide things. I decide things on what I like and what I can paint. So
yeah,
that's,
my orcs
where
are beautiful,
my
which
list
is why my
going
orcs are in here right now. Because this was a tournament list, so I needed stuff that was beautifully painted. But you can literally
that's my first decision about when I make a list. It's like, what can I paint well?
But I would actually drop the orcs and take these. I just only have one of them painted, and I don't think one of them does the same threat that 2 does.
Yeah,
I think 2 is because the one that I have. Holy shit! Did Zettelmeyer just cannon that fucking thing to death?
You can multi-charge with a regiment and a troop, or 2 regiments, and 2 regiments combined. I mean, 50 dice on 4s is still 25 hits, give or take dice.
Yeah, but it's me.
Now, this list is less durable, so one thing you could do, too, is instead of taking this, right, this little 205-point contingent, which a lot of people hate the sniffs. They take a lot of practice to be good with. I'm not gonna lie, sniffs are tough to use because they die at an even bigger, stiffer breeze than the mob beasts. So you can take a single rabble, and then you come down here, you grab Big Sexy, you give him weakness in the old lucky stick, and all of a sudden now, I still have 65 points left, by the way, and the wizard.
We haven't put our friend in Grupp. Where's Grupp coming in?
So to get Grupp, what you do is you would have to drop a king, but then you're down to 2 inspiring sources, which I don't mind. I've played a lot of games with 2 inspiring, because basically you have 2 cores, right? I've got this core, the melee stuff, and I've got this core.
You have to go to the Corey Reynolds School of Inspiring. I don't need inspiring if I don't ever roll for it.
Yep. So, but how you take Grupp is you drop the king, and it's actually exactly enough points to slot in Grupp, right? With a couple magic items left over. Or you can drop, you can also drop, when in doubt, you drop a mincer, right? You drop a mincer regiment, and that's 215 points. For goblins, that's ridiculous. You take another regiment, you take Grupp, and then you still have points left over for more Mobbies packs.
I'm gonna say, Kyle, you know what you turned me on to, and it's worked fucking phenomenal for me.
Which one, boss?
It's two kings on chariots. You put 2 of those on a flank.
So strong, dude.
They murder stuff.
They're 14 shots to clear the chaff. They can usually double charge for 7 hits, 6 wounds. I like to give one haste and one brutal, because it really pisses people off when I have a king on chariot that's as fast as their dragon.
Yeah, haste is amazing. Yeah.
And then the brutal one is really frustrating because you use him to try and get behind him, and all of a sudden that melee charge is just like, there you go, there you go, there you go. But 2 kings on chariots is great too.
Yeah, see, I like the wing it version,
but that is one of my
secrets. With the trombones,
it's
still the weakness with the conjure staff.
You just can't get through them because now it makes a rabble horde is now a defense 5 unit effectively.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden they become, for 125 points, they're dwarves.
How do you make him see though? Because that's another issue. It's like, because he's not mounted.
So one of 2 things.
Either you have to be clever with it. Yeah, but it's
either what's charging you is tall anyways, then it doesn't matter because there's no cover on weakness, or you sit him behind the bang it who doesn't block line of sight, who's already sitting behind your war trombones, and you draw a little bead.
Yeah.
You can also peek him behind. Yeah, you can literally sit him, because he's not inspiring. You can sit him inside your war trombones and use that 24-inch range on weakness to sort of dictate the battle. I mean, obviously sometimes you got to throw him away or make changes, but a lot of times when people charge Rabble Horde, if they're defense 5, they're not popping.
So your melee list still has 6 shooters or 7 shooters in it. So it's not like a pure melee, which is fine because I still think this is a good. I think this is what goblins need to make work.
My counter to that is the list I won with didn't take blasters because they die. The unit strength goes away.
I don't like blasters. Yeah.
I actually took. Get out of here, you piece of garbage. There we go. I actually won with this. I took 3 mincers as well.
Like individual, I like that too. I've been slipping them in just as annoying little shits.
There's 100 so actually, I'll post you one of the lists that I won a tournament with. Hang on, it's almost this exact one. I took a king on chariot, and then I have 85 points left. Yeah, because brew of sharpness was actually brew of strength. And then should be 80 points, correct? And then, boom. That's the list that I won a tournament with.
All right, so you got the Rabble Hordes, you got the Mobbies packs, you got mincers galore. Trombones run up in the middle. You got a king just keeping everything going. What actually what is the king needed for in this list though?
He inspires for one. He's got a bow shot, but his fearless, that headstrong is important. Because there are times when one of these being wavered will lose you the game. And if you look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of my core units, which are chaff, are not fearless. Also, for 15 points, there's nothing else in this list I want to spend 15 points on, right?
That's fair, too.
Or you can drop that if you don't like it and put brutal on the king on chariot, which is always valid.
So when you're running 5 Mobbies pack, which I'm totally on board with, but how are you running those? Like I know you're running some of those screens, but
It depends, right? So if I'm against an army that I can't win in a front on front, right? Then I might use the rabble hordes as a center with mincers in between them, and then I might take a mincer regiment on both sides, and I'll use maybe 2 troops to screen for each regiment, and I might keep a 5th troop in reserve as flyer defense. So let me go over here, and I'll show you new Google Slides. Yeah, we're gonna play with shapes.
Yeah, I love shapes.
Screw you. Oh God, don't talk to me, Google. I don't want to talk to you. I got it. That's good. I use you every single day. Insert shapes. Shapes.
Yay, squares.
So one of the things I like to do, keep little baby mobbies down here, and then, you know, my army might be my line up there, right? This, Jesus Christ, so many ads. I should have upgraded my virus protection like 2 years ago. It's none of these are viruses. They're just virus protection telling me I should upgrade. So this is my army, right? And this might be, I'd say over on this side, right, I might have mincers, rabble hordes, however you want to play it out for the mission and the terrain. This stupid little mobbies troop right here creates a zone of your flyer no land here. And I don't have to keep my line as thick. Because if your flyer lands, he has one of 2 choices. He can land and face towards my mob beast, which are nimble, and they'll just get the hell out of the way anyways. And then I'll constantly screen you. Or, what most guys do, right, is they double time and turn to the flank. Alright, well, if you're going to give me 12 attacks on 3's Crush 1 Vicious, I am very happy to slam them into you and then take my king and pin you. You know, I'll throw his 5 attacks in there. I'll melee charge you with a bang it just to pin you so you can't disengage. Right? So
right.
The 5th unit becomes defensive if I'm behind on the... Oh, God.
What have you done?
Zoom wants to be in the middle. But...
So let me ask you this
Yeah,
now.
go ahead.
Luggets. Why no Luggets?
They're garbage.
Tell me why they're garbage. Only because...
From an offensive standpoint.
I bought 2 regiments of them, I built them, and I painted a whole regiment, and I'm ready for my second. Yes, from an offensive standpoint, 20 attacks on 4s.
That's why.
Crush 1. Dash 8, dash 20 attacks on 4s?
Yeah. It's 160 points to be defense 4, fearless 15.
Yes.
To counter that, 160 points to be fearless 14, defense 6, somewhere between 20, crush 1, thunder 1, brutal. There is a trade-off in the wild. There's a trade-off in the wild charge, and they're brutal. But one of the big things in this trade-off is my list can't keep up with that. My playstyle doesn't care about wild charge because I'm not assuming I hit first. I almost play this list like I'm a dwarf. I'm very often assuming you're charging me first, unless the 5 mobbies who are speed 6, wild charge D3, nimble. Oftentimes I can slam them into your chaff. All of a sudden your army is stuck and I control the fights. Because if I don't kill you with the mob beasts, on the second turn I slam other stuff in, the hammers can back up, the mob beasts can advance again, and now your hammers are chaffed. If I kill you with the mob beasts, alright, they're still chaffing. And if you ever kill the mob beasts, right, the second line is there. So for me, Luggets serve the same role as mincers, but mincers don't die. That's almost exclusively the answer. Luggets are defense 4. They're fearless 15, which is great. But for 160 points, why wouldn't I take Big Shield? The biggest advantage to them is their unit strength. Unit strength 3 is nice.
Yeah, so that's the main reason I would take them. The second reason I would take them, just from a visual standpoint, you've got so many mincers on the table. I just want something different. You know, just be like,
it's pretty easy. Drop both troops and give both. Drop both troops clean and take 2 Luggets, and you're fine.
Yes, and I would keep the mincers that you've got.
Yeah. For me, I don't like it, but it's also 6 unit strength to 2. So one of the weaknesses of this list, right? I have 21 drops with 24 unit strength. If I drop both of these,
Yeah, and I have 21 drops with.
Yeah, I take both of these. Now I have 21 drops at 28 unit strength.
Yeah, I like that a little bit better. Even if I leave them behind everything, I usually drop my luggets back so that whatever gets through something like a hole, I fill the hole with the luggets.
Yeah. Now the Luggate Troop is actually a nasty melee unit for the price. The Regiment, though, you're taking it for the unit strength 3.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I have no problem with this
cool.
list because you're not using them as your. They're a hammer, they're cool, but you've got these. That's your killer. And you still have 3 other mincers, right? So it's not like I'm not upset about it at all.
The little mincers running around is fucking annoying for people because it's defense 6.
The chariot base allows it to pivot super steep.
Yeah.
They can do both shallow pivots and super steep pivots. So actually in this list, the oddity is the King on Chariot, right? He's a height 3 high speed model. So he's really cool, and he flanks, and he's 130 points. There's nothing wrong with that. You could certainly consider...
instead. I feel like I would take something instead of that, though.
I would take Magua, and then you downgrade
drop
these.
Something over there.
Yeah, there's different ways to do it. You would take Magua, and you just sort of shave points off. Like, you don't need Jareth's Pendant. You could honestly forget that. That's 15 points. And then you're only 5 points away, so you could downgrade Brew of Strength to, like, Elite. But you start getting combinatorically less yield. Because these units are so damn efficient being high dice regiments that those items are really important on them.
Yep.
You could also take Mogwins. The Mogwin regiment for 10 extra points, becoming an unlocking unit strength 3 unit that's defense 4. What I would actually do is I would drop a Rabble, or a Luggate, if you're going to play Lugates, right? Because this unit's gross. It's the same unlocking. It's 12 dice on 3s, Crush 1 Vicious with Wild Charge. They're nimble. They're in that little tight formation. And now I've got 30 extra points. I can upgrade a King on Chariot to this and have 10 points left over to throw a magic item on the Lugates or give them mop-ups. Because for Lugates, that initial delivery sometimes is all they get. So an extra 6 attacks crushing 1 is great.
See, this is where I probably take the 30 points and make my Rebel a sharp stick just for the walls because I
55 points.
Yeah. Okay, so I got the points to do that. So I got 25 points left.
Or it's 25. Yeah, you've got it left over. But yeah, you can do that too. But you've got the models, right? So
it's a model. For me, it's models.
Yeah, I don't own a single sharp stick, right? Everything I own is Noblars, which is fine. But that's what I own. And then for me here, it's a clean list again. We forfeited a grand total of 1 unit strength by turning the King into a Mogwins, but we also lost a catapult target. Because it's a height 3 defense 4. All your other height 3 is defense 6. So the King on Chariot becomes a really, really juicy target in a list like this. And I tend to find my Kings on Chariot die instantly.
Yeah, I was going against the Abyssal Dwarves the other day, and I was running it right. He left his cannons unguarded, went right at it, and he got lucky and routed it.
No, I don't want that. Hold on, keep this list up because I'm trying to make it. Horde. Got 2 hordes around.
But yeah, if you're running sharp sticks, right? Take sharp sticks and don't upgrade this dick.
Good.
Problem solved.
I don't know if I'm gonna take 5 Malbecs though, but I'll put them in here because.
Well, it's super flexible, right? So run 4. That's 80 free points to do whatever the hell you want with. If you're running sharp sticks, one of the easiest ways, right? All 3 sharp stick hordes are paid for by dropping a single Mobbies pack.
No, I'm just gonna run 1. I just have 1.
Coward.
Okay.
Two miniature mobs.
Going the opposite way. Running 6 or 7 mobbies, is that just being silly?
I've run 10. It really pisses people off.
Yeah, but it pisses people off, and it's a good way. It's not a bad way. Like I'm taking mortars, and I just shot all your shit off the table.
So part of it is I'm a nice guy. Like I am a person. I'm a person in sales. I do customer relations for a living, but most tournaments I'm in top 5 sports, and I'm also usually first or second place, and I'm usually in first or second battle. Like I'm tabling people. At King of the Monster, I tabled 3 of my 5 opponents. My 4th opponent, I beat him down to only his banner bearer, and of those 3 opponents I tabled, all 3 of them were tabled on turn 4. but I got
Yeah, see-
I got top 3 in sports.
Yeah, for me, like I go to Unplugged, I won the best overall. It's like I got painting, sports, and battle. I don't win the battle. Could you scroll up a little? Hold on, let me just
Oh, where do you want me to go?
Get past small beasts. Get past mincer mobs, and we'll see at the bottom of the Tromos. Yeah, so that's what I like. I want to give you a good game, but I don't want you to feel like, oh, my list was just garbage, and I won because of my list. I want to feel like, hey, I won because I was clever, you had a good time, there was funny shit that was happening.
Well, I'll tell you a customer service secret, too. Or I guess player experience secret. Wrong hat. You kill a shitload of my models when I play this list. Like, you pick stuff up constantly. Like, here's a Mobby's troop. Oh, man, you killed it. Oh, here's a Mincer. Oh, no, I bounced. It's flanked. Not my gumdrop buttons. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff.
I love to laugh. Because from my old, just from my old Warhammer days, the shit that would happen with Goblins, you just like laugh your ass off. It's like, oh, shit, you just shot this thing off, and all my models are now running off the table.
Did I break
just
it?
laugh.
Oh,
just be.
I thought I broke it.
Hold on, I got 3 Mincers. I think the 3 Mincers are kind of really key to this list.
Yeah, so the triple blaster is gross, but 3 Mincers there.
Wait, is there wingets in this one? No, we took the wingets out.
I don't like wingets, actually. They play the mission really well, but if you table your opponent, the mission's less important. So, as a counterpoint, right, you asked about what do I do with Mobby's packs, right? I think 5 is too many. So here's an easy change for that. All right, so I drop 1. Okay, now I drop 2. All of a sudden, I come up here, I have 160 floating points, and now I have 2 regiments that both unlock. I can still take 2 blasters, and I still have 30 points left over. So you have a sharp stick horde, right? Just 1?
Yeah.
So instead of 125, you take this at 155, and there's your 30 points.
Yeah.
So now you're down to... and you didn't lose any drops, and you didn't lose any unit strength. Because all you did was drop 2 1-unit strength troops for 2 1-unit strength Goblin Blasters, and I'm not going to lie, these guys don't live to the end of the game, and neither do these.
Right.
And then now you have your Sharp Stick Horde, but you have the exact same list with less mob beasts. But the whole point for these is to grind.
The Mobbies launchers, do people find that as like a negative play experience or whatever?
They do in some ways, but not compared to catapults. But here's one of the big things for these.
I use them strictly to load. All I do is I just load up my mob. That's all I do. So it's never a big problem. I'm just like I'm targeting. I'm loading up mob pops. That's all I'm doing with them.
But if you read the highlighted part, the biggest thing on these, there is no reload, or no
yes, you move and
reload
shoot
on delivery.
Yeah, they move and shoot on the reload. It's amazing. It's really good. What I do is I follow up my attacks, like my advances, and I just like have them moving into the right spot and just loading up mob pops. That's all I'm doing.
So let's say you wanted to take those. It works just as well on this list, because what you do is you keep the rabble, you drop the 2, and it's honestly the mob pop launchers are probably a little stronger than the 2 blasters, because you have so many things you can reload. You can take 2 of those. You still have 10 points left over. And now you can reload your guys.
Mob pop launchers. Yeah, hold on. I'm putting that in right now. Mob pop launchers. Do I have enough?
I mean, all you could reload in this list would be the rabble hordes, right?
The rabble hordes. But you can also just poke. You can also reload mobbies.
And the luggets.
Or luggets,
the luggets also.
I actually don't know if mobbies can be loaded, because I never take them. They cannot.
No, mobbies can. But Fleabag. I didn't realize that Fleabags could.
Yeah, Fleabag troops loaded up are shockingly good hammers.
All right, so mob up launchers, I got both. Okay, there. So my 2065.
This guy starts with a mock cage because I had the points left over, right? But again, it's all about what you want to do. So if you still need your Sharpstick Horde, you drop Jareth's Pendant, and you drop the mop up cage at the start of the game, and now you have a Sharpstick Horde again. So
what I got right now is I got a Sharpstick Horde, 2 Rebel Hordes, a Lugget gang, 3 Mobbies packs, 2 Mincer mobs, 3 Mincer regiments, 3 war trombones, 2 mop-up launchers, 3 mincers, the king with pendant, banging with inspiring, Magwan juice, and the Magwans, and I've got 35 points left over to put stuff around. It's 21 drops, 25 unit strength.
Hey, Kyle.
Yeah.
Would you mind just going over your just like general strategy with this list that you have up here?
Yeah, man. With this one here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for deployment, that's an easy place to start. So for deployment, I will often use 2 of my rabble, right? And so the easiest mission to visualize is dominate, so that's what I'll use. But it always changes by mission, by table, etc. But the general idea is I need to build a core. Had I been thinking it through, I probably would have used my phone and then been able to actually show you on a table. So let's say this is my rabble horde right here. Yeah, they're too big. That's what they said. Delete, delete, delete. All right, rabble horde. There we go. So let's just say I get lucky and the table's pretty open, right? So one of the things that I might do is I'll put a mincer offset from the front. Or in this list, what those would actually be is go away. There we go. In the version that I would run with the 2 blasters, a lot of the times those would be my blasters because their goal is to die, right? And then behind them, boy, it's awfully easy to put a mincer right there and a mincer right there. So as the blasters go up and die, in theory, they've created a hole that the mincers can flank through.
Gotcha.
If my opponent's really thick, maybe I switch it. Maybe I put the mincers up front. Like if he's got shooting, well, I don't want to let him shoot my dash 10 blaster. He's defense 5. I'd rather shoot the dash 11 defense 6 guy. So it's all flexibility, but it's that base profile that makes them so disgusting. So one of the
Honestly, I'm not a fan of blasters, and I should be, but I'm just not.
Well,
but I know
for
why.
you, right? You throw them away and you throw them away and you put your catapults back here, and you just keep your mincers up there. So
I love the concept of them. Like I think that they're like that's what I love about goblins, just that kind of like wacky contraptions. I just seen them whiff so many times.
So we'll do mincer, blaster, mincer, rabble horde, rabble horde. All right. So screen over at the list. So that other mincer in the back, in my mind, he's playing a mission, right? So in this case, maybe you have a flyer. He's my new flyer defense. Maybe you don't have a flyer. We're playing push. Maybe I'm putting him somewhere for the token. But a lot of times he's a drop that I already know where it has to go. So I'm going to go ahead and drop him to buy drop timers. Then when we look at other drops, right, we've got shapes. Now we've got our heroes. So in this list, the blasters can go, or not the blasters, that war trombone cluster.
Yeah.
It could go over here on a flank. It could also go here.
Yeah, but when are you going to use it then? Like you're waiting for the horde to die in the front?
I will double time that rabble up to gain board position.
Yeah.
I'll let that rabble get murdered. But it all depends on the board, right? Because if there's a hill over here, they're going over here. Or if there's terrain I can live in over here or something, this is the flexible part. The guns go where you need them to go for that mission against that army. Because if he's got a bunch of fast cav on the right, and then on the left he's got all his zombie legions, well, these guys need to go to the left and murder zombie legions and scarecrows. So I tend to deploy those last to fit the flexibility of it. So on the list, I don't want to do images. I want shapes. I'm an adult. So now we've got our mincer regiments. We've got 2 of those. And a lot of it's just practice, right? And I play a very weird cagey chess style that you can get too fancy with it.
I like cagey chess style.
Yeah, you can get too fancy with it and try and be too cutesy, and you can actually end up outpacing yourself. Bro, I need you to go away, screen. Please just like stop. All right, you know what? There we go.
You can't see any of that, by the way. Whatever you were dealing with, we
Oh,
can't see it.
the zoom drop down menu comes down and
Yeah,
blocks all my tabs. So there we go. Crisis averted.
We don't see any of that. So what's happening? So
Well, it's because you guys are adults. That's what it is.
I don't remember putting that in my little settings. But all right, as long as it knows that I'm an
You're
adult.
like, I didn't say I was an adult. So you've got your 2 Mincer regiments. I tend to run them together.
Yeah, that's frightening.
And we've got Mincer troops, which are just smaller Mincer regiments. Oh, that's atrocious. Oh, well, it'll work. Oh, no, we don't have Mincer troops in this list. So, in this version, right, let's say that I decided the catapults are going to go, or not the catapults, but the cannons are going to go on the right. So, these will all come down. Now, Mincer regiments, I do recommend leaving some space as they move, like space between them, because their pivot arcs are not juicy squares.
Mm.
And I'm running 3 of these. So in this case, I'll be running 1, 2. Oh, these are horribly disproportionate to scale.
It works, though.
But usually, how it works out is your Mincer regiments are screened by a half, a half, a half, with some hangover, because that also lets me nimble pivot. I can pivot this one, and pivot this one, and I can make avenues to fit through.
Gotcha.
So I don't even have to commit the mobbies. Let's say we get in a standoff and you choose not to charge. The mobbies can either nimble pivot out of the way, they can pivot again, and try and go to the right or the left, or they just die really fast. That happens a lot. The Magwas and Jews and the Mogwins unit. So the Mogwins and the Luggett in this case would almost be your second half.
Behind?
Right? They would
Yeah,
live there
behind.
or there.
See, I
if
would
you're
use
heavy
Mogwai
loading the
and
flank.
Jews as a flyer defense because it's individual. I mean, it doesn't get the multiple attacks, but 7 attacks is crazy with.
Yeah.
It can just pivot wherever it goes. They're like, oh, you flew around me? Oh, no, here comes Mogwans.
Yeah.
Or Mogwan Juice.
So he would probably live right here as your army's core, like farther back core, and he's got the lightning bolt poke that's still frustrating for everybody. Yep. And like I said, this Mincer in the back can go anywhere, right? So in the flexible point, so far we've got a Mincer, we've got our entire Death Brigade, you've got your king with your aura, and you've got your words is tough. What's left? That's pretty much it, and you've got your Luggett. Right, so in this,
Luggett's just like a throw in. Like, okay, where is this going to fill in the gaps?
Your Luggett and your Mobby's regiment. So for me, in this list, the way that I have it deployed here, because I'm assuming now the middle is open since I have 3 hordes. The Luggett regiment, like without question, those boys are going right there. They're going to be my reserve. They'll hold the middle if the middle is open, because now I'm assuming my cannons are all going over here. And maybe you have a little bit of artillery hunting. There's nothing stopping me from putting one of my Mincers inside my War Trombone cluster as just a small deterrent to, let's say, a Fleabag Rider troop or gargoyles, right? Mincers will murder fuck gargoyles hard. And it's 90 points. I don't mind sitting it over there. I'll throw it away. But he's like a reactionary force. You use him. And then that leaves your Mogwins regiment. The Mogwins are great because they're superstars, because they're fast, they're really nimble, they're incredibly flexible. Sometimes I'll put them all the way on the flank and just let them double time and pivot.
Just annoy them.
Like if they don't have lightning bolt poke, so like if you're playing armies that don't have access to medium range or long range shooting, you can put them on a far flank if they're not fast. Especially deploying this heavy over here, their army should mirror yours, right? Because you control the drop advantage. You can spin these guys and spend 2 turns doing double time slight pivot, and on turn 3 you can be potentially looking at rear charges.
Back, yeah.
Or they have to respond to it, and if they're responding to this, your army gets to gain position. But I mean, there's a couple drops in here, and right, the terrain could cause you to have to split your army and end up doing like a double wide middle. Like you may have to do something like this where I can't click on anything, I broke it all. So you may end up doing some weird double middle, or maybe you need to get unit strength across the board. So you end up deploying like that, right? With Luggets holding a corner, and this extra Mincer acting as their hammer screen. Or maybe your opponent is absolutely all flyers. Well, having these guys in the front now is suicide, and they're going to hold your middle. So you could easily defend against flyers with a deployment like that, and then leaving your Mogwins all the way back here.
Yeah.
And now you can defer a flank to a flyer. You can take this unit and turn, and you can actually advance in like a small castle flank. But this is just a lot of flexibility. But the biggest thing with these melee lists is none of these units can be incorrectly used because they're too fragile. We don't have a defense 5 or a defense 6. So, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Throwing
it's not an easy button.
Yeah. If I throw catapults on the table, I usually win the game. If I throw 6 catapults on the table, or 9, right, this bolt throwers counts as lobbers. Like, it's bullshit. So
yeah, I don't ever want to do that. So
I can throw 9 catapults on the table and just reach out and touch people with dice. But for me, there's no challenge in that. And that could just be how many games I've played. But for me, I play Kings for the friendship and the challenge. And those cannon lists seem to do neither for me.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the trick, right? That's the whole thing. For my whole crux is I want to make sure that when I'm playing the game, I have a good time. My opponent has a good time. I give a good challenge. I want a chance to win, and I don't want to walk away from the table with someone going like, "That was just a bullshit game because you just, you rolled more dice than me or whatever."
I guess as a newer player, it's tempting because like I'm just getting smashed. Like the group that I play with, we're all close friends, and like they're of the opinion of, oh yeah, like you're gonna get good by losing, which I agree with. But man, it just sucks to get smacked nonstop.
Kyle, it took me 2 years. I'm not kidding. It took me 2 years to really start figuring the game out and the angles and what not to do and how not to run something. It really did take me 2 years of playing the game to really go and just see and honestly, and you just as soon as you see it, it's like.
So
holy shit! It opens up. You're like, oh my god, this angle, that angle. Now I see what's going on.
One of the guys interviewed me, right, for some of the tournaments I was at, and one of the guys was like, "Well, your list is just so good, right?" I hear that a lot. Your list is so good, or I hear, "What the fuck is your list, and how does it even win?" But one of the things I'll tell everybody, I say it in every podcast, I say it in every message. I think I've told all of you in Facebook messages, right? I say it on Goblins all the time. I've lost more games with just one version of my list than most people have played Kings of War, right?
Yeah.
That season I went 17 wins. That was the last season of 2nd edition. I went 17 consecutive wins in tournaments, just straight. And then I went to Masters and had to change my list for flying because I couldn't get a box big enough that worked with the paint I had, and it was a mistake. I took trolls and I lost. I got countercharged.
Yeah.
I played
and that's
2 to 4 games a week against Eric Trowbridge, half of which were my list versions.
Oh yeah,
and half were his.
You're getting trained on like fast.
Yeah, I brought Eric into the game. I kicked his ass for so long he decided he was going to win.
Like,
what we did is I would play my list like a third of the time. He'd play his list a third of the time, and we also just played random. We would randomly generate lists using dice, and we'd play it, and you just had to figure it the fuck out. We also practiced down points. We would practice on super short clocks, right? So I was playing 2,300 points on 45-minute timers.
Holy shit.
Me and Eric got to the point where we were playing 2,300 point Masters games on 45-minute clocks.
I'm hearing a Rocky montage in the background.
The goal is the goal was that you need to understand how your army works.
That's 100% true. So this is to you, Kyle, and this is my problem as well. I'll run goblins. Like, you know what? I'm gonna run elves today. I'm gonna run green lady tomorrow. I'm gonna run salamanders.
I've got those.
And it's like every time I show up, it's like I got a different army. And I'm like, why am I not doing as well? Maybe because I don't even know the army I'm even playing.
Yeah, well, like I own an elf army.
If you take an army and play it,
I haven't won with that elf army, but like maybe a third of the time. And my elf player friend, he picked my list. He's like, that's a cool idea. And he went like 6 wins with it. He's like, this is a great list. And I'm like, you fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that, like I'm definitely learning. Like getting smashed is a good way to learn.
It's also depressing.
Yeah, it just fucking
Yeah, but
sucks.
don't worry about getting smashed. It's not like the game. The problem, I think people see the game and they go like, "Oh my gosh, this is such a basic game." It's not. The rules are very simple, but the nuance and the how everything works together, that's the real
This
magic of it. And once you figure it out, it's like there's a like you will get to a point and you'll be like, "Oh,
Yep.
okay," and you'll become that much better.
This stupid little core right here. They are so freaking fragile and finicky, and they're not hammers, but they're not chaff, but they are. They have taken me a long time to learn how to use that nimble troop, but you start finding ways with practice to fit them into a flank where they have a 2 millimeter clearance, to fit them into a position where they're blocking charges from multiple angles as one single troop because of that second pivot nimble gives them. Right? All of a sudden, you've blocked up a Night Horde and a second Night Regiment because they're able to be at a douchey angle just right. Like, you can all of a sudden use this little 80-point guy, and they start controlling the battlefield. That's one of the things they bring in that other units don't. But it takes practice to learn how that nimble troop works and how to protect them until they're important, right? Like I talked about, if the enemy's got bow shots and little fireball poke and lightning bolt, don't shove this shit in your deployment line. They will be dead on turn 1. You'll have none of them left. Put them behind your defense 6, wait a hot minute, then use them to be annoying. But they're frustrating, man.
I don't know if it's like the group that I play with, but like with hordes, like I'm having a lot of trouble with them just not getting bogged down in terrain, and also like just not getting not being able to control charges like the way you can with regiments. Like they get double charged in one shot, and then
so this is where you put the angles where you echelon things a little bit, you angle things a little bit differently. That's when you start moving things up, and it's like, well, he can't fit two things against it. There's things you can do as you move to kind of angle things so that you can't be double charged. That is one of the key things to learn. Is just don't just push it forward. If you're in charge range of like 2 cavalry regiments, it's like, okay, they're gonna blow right through that. If they double charge you.
Yeah, we're almost done.
Yeah, and see, I've been able to do that with a smaller footprint on regiments, but I'm struggling to do it with hordes.
It just takes practice. Like, as a genuine non-douchey answer, it takes practice. But let's say you're against a guy who's got a lot of speed, right? This can be a mincer, it can be a blaster, it doesn't really matter. Bring blank bases to games. Do quick tests during your movement phase. I realize I can't zoom in because it's not universal battle. This little deployment window right here.
What he's doing, you can't double charge, yeah.
So if you double charge the rabble horde, that's fine. But if you look at the angles, right? Pretty much everything here is providing a front. Now this isn't the move that you're making while you're double timing forward. This is once you've sort of reached your position. So, there's nothing I've done here that makes any of these charges illegal. Nothing. You can double charge this unit, you can charge this unit, you can charge this unit. If you got a flying hero, maybe I got to make the gap tighter. But what happens is when that enemy comes in, maybe he can only single charge this horde, but he double charges this horde. That's fine. You've got support units behind. But more importantly, he has to turn to face this threat and this threat. But one of the things that you're talking about, right, is my buddy's coming in with these 2 units and I'm getting alpha striked.
Yeah.
So, one of the things alpha strike armies never want to see is rabble horde sitting right there with 3 war trombones and a bang it behind them.
Oh, yeah.
Here's why. If they bounce, don't countercharge, shoot with cover.
Yes. You shoot over him, yep.
Don't countercharge, shoot with cover. If he kills you, shoot without cover and charge. So pick one unit to shoot without cover and charge the other one in the flank with the mincers or the blasters. Yeah. Those layered stacks, like that initial deployment that had the mincer and then the blaster and the blaster, if they're alpha popping, like if you know they're coming into alpha, keep those guys farther back. I'd rather see you have a front charge with rabble as a multi-assault than see your rabble die and have them move out of the arc of your mincer.
Yeah.
Right? So when these guys were here, and like I said, in this case it's a blaster. It doesn't have to be a blaster. You can make it whatever the hell you want for your list. I hate Google. So they're sitting like this. Here's your rabble that's going to get alpha striked. So in this case, that's pretty tight, but the Mincer's in the back. But let's say you don't have this guy because you chose to do catapults, because you're like a guy with standards, I guess. So instead of leaving him that tight, put him in the back half. Right? Your rabble horde is 4 inches thick. His cavalry, at best, is a large cavalry regiment, which is also 4 inches thick, meaning it is impossible to overrun far enough to exclude this arc. He physically can't outrun this arc. Now, if he's smaller and he's in the middle, maybe, just don't suck and play that scenario where, okay, maybe this guy's got to back up a little bit farther or whatever. But at the same token, you're trying to make it so he hits me here, right? I have a 10-inch threat range. I want to make sure I can always get within 10, even if he backs up D3. A perfect roll. So you find that sweet spot where maybe you sit 3 inches back or 2 inches back to where he can't overrun far enough to out me, but he can't back up far enough to get out of range. Then that Mincer is going in. You're stripping his Thunderous. You're tying it up. If they multi-charge right, melee with one, breathe on the other one, and prep your other hammers to do continuous charges. A Mincer a turn is the most demoralizing thing that can happen to somebody, because all they see is that dice getting closer and closer to being hot because of Brutal. They're never guaranteed to kill it on a counterattack, and they're only grinding out 90 points. Like, if they kill a Rabble Horde and a Mincer, normally it's still less points than that unit is.
Yeah.
If they kill 2 Mincers, they've probably paid for that unit. But you've bought at least 3 turns, and you very realistically have a chance to kill them at that point. But this little War Trombone Corps is a lot of what lets me play the way I play. Now, obviously, like I said,
I do love the trombones. I do love them.
When I played my facetious, I refuse to take shooting because I'm so tired of everyone saying you need shooting to win list, they didn't come in. They were more melee units.
It was
so
just more
of all this shit.
Well,
but take the War Trombones. They're better. There is no list that is not made better by 3 War Trombones and a Bang It. And if you disagree on the Bang It, don't take it. But I'm just going to tell you, that extra Shattering is clutch.
Shattering is pretty much Dread, but shooting, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's Brutal with shooting.
Brutal.
I meant brutal. Sorry,
so, what's your thought on Fleabags? I do love Fleabags just from a aesthetics point of view.
I spent like 2 years taking a troop. Just one speed 10 nimble troop. It basically served the role of like this second Mincer, the third Mincer back here, or some of the extra Mobbies troops. Because if you don't have an answer for it, it's the same idea as the Mogwins, right? Do you have an answer for this unit? No, you do not. Turn 1, 20 inches, slight pivot. Turn 2, 20 inches rear charge. Turn 3, make the rear charge.
So with the speed 10, let's say I've got, I can find the points. Would you swap out Fleabag Riders for Mobbies packs if you had the points?
Looking at the list, honestly, if you want to take Fleabag Riders, I would actually get rid of, because you don't really need an unlock anymore, right? So the Mogwins and the Luggets are what I would consider fluff accessories. Like, you don't need them as an unlock. So if you want to take Fleabags, not Fleabag Riders. Fleabag Riders, there we go. You're 155 points for regiment. You're actually better off arguably dropping the Luggets and the Mogwins and taking
2 of those.
A regiment and a troop. And then giving them the mop-up upgrades. In my thought process, right?
How would you...
Wait, I've got an extra hero in here somewhere. 1, 2, 3... Oh, I've got the 2 blasters. Whoops. Yeah, so you drop the blasters, which, questionable if people like them or not anyways. I'm one of the players who lives by them. But then you can take a regiment
I'm finishing
and a
making
regiment.
my third of them right now.
And you've got 150 points left still. Right? And now you've arguably, you lost some value, but now, if you're me again, right? I add both blasters back. I still have 20 points, which then lets me take a mop-up cage on each of these guys. Goblins are so cheap, but they're also not just cheap. They're cheap in a uniform manner. Your average price variation is somewhere between 80 and 120. Regiments are between 80 and 160. Like you get these very clean values. Like the fact that 3 War Trombones upgrades to Wingets for exactly 170 point tax. Like there is sort of clean math. 2 Mobbies troops is a Mincer troop. So Fleabag Riders are 165, Luggets are 160. So, but I mean, if you look at this right now, all of a sudden I've got a speed 10. I've got 2 speed 10 flanking forces. They can each take a
that's
flank.
like the shit that people don't see. Yeah.
They can
Would
double
you ever
charge.
would you ever give the regiment like Caterpillar or anything like that?
Nah, they're not worth it, man. Look at that nerf.
Yeah. This is my Fleabags have been wavered every game I played. Like, it's been winged for like 2 or 3 points and then wavered. I'm like,
Now,
fuck.
if you're gonna take Fleabags,
Like,
I would drop Magua entirely, 100%. Grab.
I usually run my Fleabags for the king with the crystal pennant. And like, oh, you got to come after me? And I run my king forward. Like, okay, you've killed
I run
him.
that. I run a speed 10 chariot.
Yeah, when I've used Fleabags, I've done the same thing. 2 regiments with the king on chariot, and when I can get them into good position, they're nasty. But a lot of the time, I've just like they get destroyed so fast.
Well, but think about it now, right? If they're focusing their shots on this, which is
then
300,
all your other shit's going forward.
It's 450 points, so it's not even a fourth of your army. I've got a lot of damage going forward. Because remember, this list still kept the 2 blasters.
Yeah.
And one of the things is you don't have to go there turn 1, right? If you can't get to the position, one of the things I see a lot of players do is they force their flank too fast. You are fast as tits. Move up 10 and be patient. And then maybe on turn 2, move up and start flanking.
Tits, be honest with you. Are they really fast?
They're about
tits?
speed 10.
Be honest with you.
They're about
Really
speed 10.
fast.
But I've watched a
'cause I
lot
wanna
of
fit the
players
Fleabags in.
lose. I've watched a lot of players lose their flanking force before it does anything, and then their front line doesn't matter. You can wait till the turn that everyone's doing the standoff, then set your Fleabags up, because you're going to win this grind, right? Like, you're going to force a fight. If they turn to look at your Fleabags, those Mincer mobs would love a flank charge or a rear charge. So sometimes I keep the Fleabag Riders and the King almost acting as a reserve, right? They're defensive for maybe turn 1 and turn 2. Then they're so fast on turn 3, they've darted past the enemy lines and pivoted, and on turn 4 they're saying, I'm going to flank you, or charge heroes, or charge key targets. But the Brew of Haste is really important to me, because I don't want someone to be able to say, haha, I can kite some of your stuff. Because the regiments are nice, right? And the mob hub, right? The extra 6 attacks on 4 is crushing 1. These guys hit shockingly hard for a lot of people, especially if you can get a hill. But this King, that speed 10 lets him keep up with your unit and still use his bow shots too.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're going slower, one of the advantages of going slower is you got your 10-inch move, you've got your control, you can double pivot, so you can really start to get good angles. That King moves up his 10, he takes his bow shot. It's a 28-inch threat on turn 1. A lot of times you can try and snipe a banner bearer that they put in the wrong place. Sure, you're shooting on 6s because it's cover, but, I mean, Ratkin banner bearers need a lot of times 1 wound. Goblin banner bearers are 1 wound, and they're in kill range. And then turn 2, you can rescreen again and shoot him again. Like, you can spend him taking 2 turns trying to snipe Inspiring, or you can try and clear that 1 unit of chaff that could potentially harass you, right? Like Gargoyles. Kings on Chariot are great for Gargoyles, because you go, I got 7 shots, and if you come in, you won't kill me, but I'll definitely kill you in the counterattack. So if you guys asked me to play an army that had no wingets and was melee based and no allies, it would actually probably be this. Because I also love Fleabag Riders. When I went to Best of the Rest, my Fleabag regiments won me all 3 of the games that we played. Because on turn 5, what do? They double time and score an objective. So my Fleabag regiments won me.
Yeah, I just took out like 2 Mincers. And I left my Luggets in. I like the Luggets look.
Well, you own them too, so I don't actually own Luggets. I'd have to go paint them.
I painted the regiment. So I got a Sharpstick Horde, 2 Rabble Hordes, a Lugget Gang, 3 Mob Beast Packs, 2 Fleabag Regiments, 2 Mincer Mobs, 3 War Trombones, 2 Mob Punchers, 1 Mincer, a King with Pendant, a Banger with Talisman, and a King on Chariot with the Brew of Haste.
And it sounds nasty. And, right, tweak it to your playstyle, right? Not everybody loves, people hate blasters. I get it.
I don't like blasters.
It's 130
Not that I don't like
points.
how they play. I just feel like
Well, I mean,
I'm not. Yeah.
a clean upgrade for the blasters is literally just make them catapults, right? That's a clean upgrade. Or not catapults, mop-up launchers. You need 20 extra points to do that, so you drop the 2 mop-ups off your cav. And now you have mop-up launchers, and you can reload your cav on turn 1 anyways. So in that regard, right, it's a win. Especially if you're going to keep luggets. Right? So you can always do that.
Yeah.
But, because the whole point is, if you're taking mop-ups, it's only because you didn't take mop-up launchers. That's the only reason to actually pay for mop-ups.
Yeah. Hey Kyle, so a question. With
Yeah, I've got the 2 launchers.
Yeah, drop the blasters, go to 2 launchers, drop the mop-ups, and it's an exact same list. So what do you got, man? Hit me.
You were talking about, and I can see how great that war trombone group is.
That sort of triplet plus guy.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on the scale down there for 1995 tournaments? Like losing those 10 shots. I mean, I know that other armies are scaling down too, but you're probably just not getting that punch, right? You're losing 1/3 of your hits there.
You are. So.
I'm not going to ask you to do a 1995 list. I'm just like, do you think that's still a viable thing in the?
I do, because the average nerve at 1995 goes down too. But an easy way to consider that, right, is you can make up the value of a war trombone with a bang it. It's not perfect, but I can still actually keep a 4 quad by going to new list, Goblins, and I'll just slap the quad in there. But it's so similar that it doesn't really hurt. I don't need allies. And we're going to do 1995. Right, and in 1995, a lot of the times, you don't need 3 hordes. So what I might do at 1995 is horde, regiment, so I can get my flex unlocks. And you could do war trombone, bang it with the inspiring talisman. And 1985 tournaments are fun. I love 1985. Not enough people play it. And then
yeah, I mean, what's coming up?
I take piercing arrow because you need that extra wound for shattering, and it's 10 points that you're never going to use anywhere else.
Okay.
Like, you need that extra wound to hit. You're going to add. There we go. So you're still at 680, and you've actually unlocked it with just... So there's your unlock. And now you're in here, and we see, well, I've still got my units, right? So if we're looking at making a core again, there's that. For 1985, all right, I need 2 models. Now I'm going to take I might take 2 kings on foot. All right, there's 1,000 points. You're at 12 drops, 12 unit strength. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shooting units and 6 melee units.
Cool.
And you still have 2 flexible unlocks you haven't used yet. So you could use those unlocks to grab 2 kings on chariot. Now you have a shitload of... where am I wrong? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, no, I've already got the bangets. That's right. So, I was right. This is a perfectly unlocked list at 1,000 points. And you could slap it around, change it. But you don't actually lose the core. Just one of the trombones becomes a bang it. So the advantage to bangets is they're individuals, right? They can always shoot whatever target they want. The downside is they do about 1 wound less a turn.
Okay.
Was it you, John, that said there's not much difference between them?
Yeah.
The trade-off is they do about 1 wound less a turn. The advantage is individuals can shoot whatever the fuck they want. War trombones only get 1 pivot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But bangets can't chaff. If you have your conga line of war trombones, do not be afraid to shove a war trombone.
I've done that.
Shove a war trombone an inch away. Breathe on it with all 3, throw your bangit in there, and then next turn bring out with 2 and throw your bangit in there.
Yeah.
And then if you still haven't killed it, breathe on it with 1 and throw your bangits in there.
Yeah, I've done that where I throw them all out there in like a line so that if someone charges me, you killed 1.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to shoot you again.
Yep.
Oh, you got another one.
And
now,
you stagger
now
them like stairs so that there's never any cover,
Yeah.
but they can never charge more than 1 anyways, and it pisses them off to no end.
Yep.
So, yeah, don't be afraid, especially in 1995, because every point's more valuable. But I mean, look at that, 1,000 points, and you're at 12 unit strength with 12 drops. You could drop your kings and get your king on chariot. You make it whatever the hell you want, right? You want to do legendary characters, right? You would take Grub Longnail and Magua, right? You just do whatever you want. I will tell you, the smaller the points go, the more important weakness is. Because combinatorically, you're preserving a larger percentage of your army. As you get into bigger games, Bane Chant becomes more valuable than weakness. In my mind, the way I think about the game is, what's my combinatoric yield? What am I gaining? If I only have 15 units, keeping one alive is worth more to me than if I have 22 units.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because the bigger the game gets, the larger your yield of the table, the mass that you take up is with goblins, the larger the percentage gets. So the advantage becomes removing the enemy units. Whereas as the game gets smaller, preserving your numeric advantage becomes more important. For me, that's how I think about the game. So when people are like, let's play, 3,000 points or 4,000 points or 5,000 points, you bet your ass I'm bringing like 6 sources of Bane Chant, and I'm just going to be like, I have double your drops, and I'm going to take care of that on turn 1.
So
if you couldn't take a mincer mob, what would you take? Like, because I've got 4 mincers. I'm trying to if I keep what I've got, right?
There's nothing else in the list that slaps hard as this.
Hold on, wait, show me.
Fleabag Chariots. So 225 points. A mincer regiment with an item, right? 230. Fleabag Chariot. It's 20 attacks on 4s, Thunderous 2, and Vicious. What's a mincer regiment? It's 21 d6 on 4s with Thunder 1, Crush 1. This is speed 9 with Vicious, right? So that for me, the Fleabag Chariot and the mincer regiment serve a similar role. This is obviously faster, and it has stupid little chippy bow shots with steady aim that can be annoying over time. But for me, that's the answer. You could also take Luggett Gangs for the troops, but if you're trying to replace a mincer mob regiment, that is just a murder machine. And the only thing that can put those kind of wounds out reliably is a Fleabag Chariot Legion. And then I would back it up with Bane Chant. If you're taking the Legions, you really need to take Bane Chant with the Lucky Stick.
That footprint, though.
Yeah, but also chariot footprints are deceptively easy to flank people with. I tend to run, when I was running the practice games for chariots, I was running 1 chariot with Caterpillar and 1 chariot with Nimble, and then I ran 2 Bane Chant sources. And it caught a lot of people out when that Nimble chariot slaps you in the flank for 40 dice with Bane Chant.
Yeah.
Or Brew of Strength, right? If you don't want to do Nimble and you don't want to deal with it, you just take Brew of Strength and just move on. Because it's also 17-19, which for goblins is like, this is Tank City, baby.
Yeah, it is.
But that's my answer. If you can't take them, Fleabag Chariots, right? Fleabag Chariot Hordes suck. Don't take that Horde footprint as bullshit. Not that anybody owns regiments, but Fleabag Chariot regiments are nice. The Fleabag Chariot Troop is something a lot of people ignore. For 125 points, you have a Speed 9 square. It's the exact same size as the Mincer Troop, right? Except this is Speed 9. It's a perfect square who is height 3 on a Speed 9 base. It only does 4 hits, so it only does like 3 wounds. But it's 125 points for a fast-ass annoying unit. And then you get them in the rear, and all of a sudden they're doing 9 or 10 wounds. So this sort of serves almost the same role as a Fleabag Rider regiment, in that it's frustrating. Same with the regiment itself. But if you don't have mincers, then chariots serve the role, or you could just say fuck it and go all in on Luggets. I don't like the Luggets as much, but the unit strength is what they bring to the table. That's the trade-off. 3 unit strength at the end of the game is better than 1, and there's no discussion that's going to change that fact.
So I've been dealing, I would say all but 2 of my games have been up against defense 5, 6. When I play something that's not defense 5, I feel like I get more luck and I can get a draw or pretty close to win. But those defense 6 lists, a lot of undead and a lot of doors have just been spanking me. You know
what makes them really mad?
What's that?
Weakness. Because you know what they don't have? Volume of attack. And a lot of times they're hitting on 4s. Now, that said, if you're playing against, elementals, weakness is useless, right? So now you need Bane Chant. In my meta, it's really, really common to see Crushing 4, Defense 6.
So
So
sorry,
weakness is
I don't
pointless.
follow. Why do elementals not care about weakness? I haven't played.
A lot of them have so much crushing that it's almost like negligible, right?
Gotcha.
Like if you're going against orc players, weakness makes them pissed because they go to base and they're furious. If I throw weakness on obsidian golems, they go down to crush 1, which still helps. It still helps a lot, but you get to use it less times because one of the best uses for weakness in my mind is the unit that's going to charge a rabble horde, because now you have a defense 5 rabble horde. But if they're already going to wound it on 2s anyways, it's not going to matter much. It is frustrating when they try to take out mincer troops and stuff, and they're like, haha, you can't do it. But if you're running into a really heavy D6 meta, sometimes Banechant's going to be better, because you can grind and get that flank, and the ability to put a clutch Banechant on the flank will, that's a game decider right there.
Hmm.
And don't forget, you can Banechant blasters because it's a melee attack. So they're normally only crush 3. If you get them in the flank, slap the Banechant on it and see if you get lucky and roll like 36 hits. You won't roll 36 hits, but you technically could. All right.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good answer.
So I'm getting the stare from my wife because I promised we'd eat popcorn and watch more Harry Potter. Kyle, do you have any questions, or was I helpful, or did my voice just put you to sleep?
I really, really, really appreciate this. It definitely, like, just the layout, that your thoughts on using units together, I think have really changed the way that I was looking at like the army I've been playing. And yeah, this has been really helpful. And I really
battle
appreciate
groups, man. If you haven't listened to that podcast, I know that I plug my very irregular, unsponsored, absolutely worthless, like unfiltered, unedited podcast, but that one I did with Brian Tucker on how to build units as a new, like how to build regiments and armies as a new player. It goes in everything from what the hell is game strategy to developing battle groups and what we're talking about right here. Like, how do I use this unit? How do I use this unit? It's on Kings of War Worldwide on Podbean.
Yeah, I've listened to it. I think the units I was putting together, I guess, like, I don't know, I was playing it like an army that it's not, that it had more staying power and had more hitting power.
No,
and it was just like,
if you assume everything in your army will die in one turn and play accordingly, you'll find that you find more success in the game.
Okay.
If you just look at your list and you assume everything that gets hit will die the turn it gets hit, you'll find that you make more conservative, or more not conservative. You time your plays better. Sort of think about goblins as they get one turn, right? They get one turn to make it happen. So you got to pick that time when you engage and let yourself get engaged. A lot of players I watch just move up the board, and you talked about it, right? It takes like 2 years to see this game. Because what happens for a lot of it? I go up the board, you go up the board. Let's fight. Goblins lose.
Yeah.
Goblins lose bad. So it's a coy army. It looks on the front to just be a slammy spam army like you used to do in 7th edition Warhammer. But you can't. It's so coy.